is November 12th, 2024. November 12th, 2024. And I'm going to try this again, and hopefully with more success than the last time. I tried to do a video on this a moment ago, and it was literally a babbling run-on, and everything in it was true, but there's so much information. There is so much information, and all of it's true. I need to get the situation going where I can outline everything, explain everything, show what I mean. I really need to get that outline going because it isn't going to make sense just babbling all the realities out there. So I had another major dream about my ex, the abuser, the sociopath. I had another major dream about a week ago. And I woke up from it at about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and I really thought I need to get up and make a video about this dream. And it was so freezing. And there isn't any heat. There isn't any heat. None. Zero. And I just couldn't make myself do it. Because I'd been without heat for half a week or whatever already. And I couldn't make myself get up at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and do the video explaining what the dream was when it was freezing. It was just absolutely freezing. So what has happened is there has been a sudden, unexpected, unprecedented early winter massive snowstorm. Think of what happened in Texas, right? Like 2 years ago, where they had that sudden blizzard and everybody was panicking and some people died and all of these things. It's been like that. It's been like that. Except in this location where I cannot stay, I rely on propane and propane heater right now to get any warmth at all. And I still technically do not have any heat. This heat that you're looking at in this video is literally just in the battery room. It's for the batteries. Because when weather is that cold, if batteries go below freezing, the batteries will become destroyed permanently destroyed. Can't fix them after that, and you have to pay to replace them. And if the batteries get destroyed, there is no electricity. There's no way to power anything. And I work remotely on a computer, and that computer requires power. And so I cannot allow these batteries to get destroyed if I can help it. So this heater is in the battery room, and I'm sitting in front of it right now. Where I sleep, there's no heat. There's no heat. And it is freezing. It's freezing. And now it has been freezing for a week and a half, and I have no heat. And this is causing more medical complications and more difficulty with my work days because I have to work on the computer 9 hours a day, and my employer doesn't care if I'm freezing or not. They don't care. I have 3 heart conditions. I have 2 kinds of arrhythmia and a heart murmur. I have genetic severe autoimmune disease, and I have genetic severe arthritis, HLA-B27, amongst other issues. And This is absolutely running wreckage over all of that. In addition, I bit down on hard candy, and I broke a molar. And that was a little bit before this last summer. So it was a little while ago, or it was this summer itself. I think it was this summer itself, like probably May or so. And I will never ever do that again. It was a huge mistake. It was really a mistake. It was an accident. I just bit down on this piece of candy and the top molar broke. And I've never done anything like that before. And then, like a month after that, I got this raging infection that I didn't even know what it was. And it went all the way up into my sinuses and in my blood. And so the mucus was just gushing nonstop out of my nose and throat and things like that. And it was just nonstop. It was the worst nasal gushing 24/7 I've ever had. And at first I didn't know what it even was. I also was exhausted and dizzy and weak and different things like that. I had no idea what it was. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've got the worst cold. I've got the worst summer flu ever. And it just went on like that for months. And then I figured out that it was the infection from the broken tooth. So I figured out how to clear that infection by rinsing many times a day and night with salt water, a lot of salt in the water, and a lot of rinsing with salt water. And I improved that infection or cleared it, and then that stopped. And then the past several months, I have had nonstop Montezuma Montezuma's revenge. And it's extreme. It's extreme. It's acute, it's chronic, it's extreme. And I don't know if that's because of this broken molar or not. I don't know. Or is it something else because there's so many problems going on, like the cold, not being able to really buy food, definitely not being able to buy the food that I should be buying because of these medical issues I have. The genetic autoimmune disease indicates that I actually cannot eat anything. It's like I'm the equivalent of someone with the celiac disease and Crohn's, and I can't just eat anything. But I basically have been having to eat, whatever cheap garbage I can manage to get. And it's, all of these things. And then since I can't remember that poignant dream that was probably really meaningful, the other thing that I wanted to try to talk about, and this is where there's too many details, and my previous video was just blubbering nonsense because I was saying all these truths, but they just sounded like, nonsense at hyperspeed because there's so much going on, there's so much reality. I have to have a format where I can lay it out and show it, and explain it and make it clear. I don't have that right now. So my children were stolen by an absolute predator, a proven and provable predator. And I have the proof. I have the proof. And he did so by lying, perjury. It's really easy to do, apparently, and there's never any punishment for it. And he did so by abuse by proxy, and he's done so by severe maximum parental alienation. And it really was incredibly easy for him to pull it off. And then the attorney that I made the mistake of paying literally lost on purpose. Literally lost on purpose. Either they literally lost on purpose or that attorney is absolutely moronic. And it has to be the former. And therefore, my children were stolen. Parental alienation is maximum. The abuser is getting more than half my income, And the documentation, the order from the court hearing is not worth the paper it's written on. It is not worth the paper it is written on. So this summer, the abuser attempted to drag me to court 4 or 5 times, claiming I have businesses I don't have, claiming I have assets I don't have, trying to take housing from me to render me completely homeless permanently because of the medical conditions, the fact that I have no income forever. But trying to take things I don't even have. And he failed. He failed. 3 of the court dates were canceled, even though I had to take those sick days off work, which means I don't have any sick days for now being sick. So through all these issues that have been going on, I haven't been able to take any sick days for them. And I can't go to the dentist because I have no sick days, because they were all spent on his shenanigans dragging me to court. And this is over a year after he already scammed his way into stealing everything. Anyway, the 2 court dates that stood, he lost. And the conclusion, I didn't win either. The conclusion was that he would continue graping me for the same amount of money he was getting before, which is more than half. And that's it. Case closed. That's it. But that isn't worth the paper it's written on either, because that cruised along for a number of months, couple months, several months, whatever it was. And then all of a sudden, my paychecks, which are now called jokes. Again, the word for paycheck is joke. The word for paycheck is joke. The word for paycheck is joke. So now my jokes, I get a joke twice a month. I get a joke on the 15th. I get a joke on the 30th. My jokes are far less. I was barely scraping by before, like barely scraping by. I was scraping by not meeting my basic needs. Now I'm not scraping by. The jokes are not big enough to scrape by. There has been no court date. There has been no ruling. Just the rulings are not worth the paper they're written on. And they can just take more money anytime they want, however much they want. And there's nothing you can do. So I'm in a situation where I have to leave this housing situation and move into a vehicle because of the stalking and stalking by proxy. It's not safe to be here, and nobody wants to be harassed and stalked to allow me to be here. So I have to leave. So I have to live in a vehicle permanently, because this will never stop, and somehow work remotely for a bank on a computer system 9 hours a day in a vehicle. That was going to be hard enough. The vehicle needed a transmission replacement, which I got done. It was very difficult to do, but I got it done. The vehicle now needs, because it's an old vehicle, it now needs an alternator, and it needs the brake master cylinder replaced. I have a neighbor who's willing to do the work masterfully for no labor cost, but I do need to buy the parts. The parts are not very expensive comparison, but now that I don't have paychecks anymore, I have jokes, and now that I have no idea how much the joke is going to be from joke to joke, I mean, the joke that I'm supposed to get this week, it could be $500 for 3 weeks of work. It could be $5 for 3 weeks of work. It could be $50 for 3 weeks of work. It could be $800 for 3 weeks of work. I don't know how much the joke is going to be. And the same with the joke on the 30th. I have no idea what the joke is going to be. And you can't call the state, the department, the whatever. You can't call them. You can't call them because you're on hold for an hour to several hours. It may hang up on you saying call volume's too high. It oftentimes does. And if you manage to get through after an hour to several hours, which during a work day is not possible, and they're not available on weekends, etc., holidays not available, then you'll get a hold of someone who has no idea what's going on. And the manager who takes care of these cases, they're never available. So you can't do anything. So I don't know how much the joke is going to be. I don't know if the joke is going to be enough to buy a $6 can of instant coffee for the next 2-3 weeks. 3 weeks of time, basically, is by the time I get a joke. It's kind of in a three-way, even though it's twice a month. It's kind of like a 3-week waiting period oftentimes. And this is, by the way, overtime included. So I've worked overtime, and my joke could be as little as, $500 or $400 or $200. I don't know. But obviously, I can't buy anything for that. I can buy a $6 can of instant coffee. Maybe I can get one or two tanks of propane to try to save the batteries in this battery room. I can't have any propane for myself. Food, maybe I can have like a loaf or two of the cheapest bread I can find. Like if I can find bread that's $1, $1.50. Stuff like that. It's bad. And so the paperwork a ruling is written on is it's worth nothing. It's worth nothing because it doesn't mean anything. Um, and there's no money for legal help. And what's interesting is like I finally enrolled in dental insurance to get the broken molar fixed because it made me so sick and is making me so sick, and it's gonna make me sicker and could lead to death and disability and inability to function and ability to work. And that's the only reason. And I've had that insurance for 2 months of time. I'm trying to get to the dentist to get it fixed, and it's really good insurance. It covers 50%, no waiting, but I'm gonna have to cancel it. There's no way. There's no way I can afford that, so I'm gonna cancel that this week. And I'm just hoping to be able to buy propane for personal warmth. And I was trying to clean things up and get the alternator and the brake master cylinder replaced and move into the vehicle because I have to do it. I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. I can't just sit here. I'm being stalked by proxy. I can't just sit here. I don't have a choice. But I needed to get things cleaned up, and I needed to get, things put away, and I needed to get things arranged and situated. And now a joke 1 and joke 2 each month, it's not enough. It's not enough to do any of that. It literally is not enough to do any of that. It's questionable if it's enough to maintain the bare minimums to just maintain employment. And then typically, always, not typically, always, my work has been part remote and part hybrid, where I have to drive over 200 miles, live in the parking lot of my workplace for that time that I have to be hybrid, and then drive over 200 miles back. And if my workplace asks me to do that, and this is a time of year they would totally be asking me to do that again, there is no way whatsoever I can do that. The joke isn't big enough for gas. The joke isn't big enough for the alternator. Even comparably, it's not much because it's an older vehicle. The joke isn't enough money for the BrakeMaster cylinder. And as the winter gets worse with these extreme unexpected snowstorms, blizzard conditions, my flipping neighbor is not going to be willing to do that work. He's not going to be willing to do that work, period, if this gets worse. Like right now, if I could buy the parts, he would do the work, but I can't buy the parts because they're stealing all my money. And the jokes aren't enough for auto insurance. The jokes aren't enough for the fuel to drive to do the hybrid schedule. The jokes aren't enough for anything. The joke is not enough for me to rent an apartment anywhere. The joke is not enough for me to do a motel for even a few nights, much less an extended stay. The joke is not enough for renting anywhere, not renting a room, not renting a shed, not renting anything. The joke is not enough money for anything. I'm serious. The joke is enough money for a teenager to live in their parents' basement as long as the parents are willing to let them live there no matter what. That's the amount the joke will cover. And I don't have parents whose basement I can move into, so, or anyone else's whose basement I can move in. I have the best situation possible. And now, because of the stalking and stalking by proxy, I can't. I have to go for many reasons. Nobody wants to be a part of this kind of situation, the drama, the harassment, the danger, the inconvenience, the stress, the nightmare, and potential damage to everything, and potentially having a woman killed on the property, harassment, everything. And then it's dangerous. It's dangerous for me, so I have to go. And then he lied and claimed that I was making money off of dogs, which I'm not at all. And there are 3 dogs that are problematic. They would be fine here. Big fence, everything, they'd be fine if I could stay here. I can't. They cannot be rehomed. I'm going to have to euthanize them. I'm going to have to I don't have another choice. The joke is not enough to feed them. The joke is not enough to get rid of them any other way. The joke is not enough to maintain them. I have to put them down. So those need to be put down. Three of those. And I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how much the paycheck, the joke is going to be, or even when I'm going to get it. The way it used to be, I would have gotten it already because I get it early. But the way it is, that's unpredictable as well. When I even get it is unpredictable because it's like the system between my jokier, my employer, my jokier, and my joka, I guess that's my bank. Like, it doesn't know when it's going to process the joke, the quote unquote paycheck, the joke. It doesn't know how much it's going to be. It used to always know exactly how much it was going to be because that's what it was. But now it has no idea what amount it's going to be. And so when I get it is totally unpredictable, and how much it is totally unpredictable. The only thing that seems to be predictable is it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Like there's more and more and more and more being stolen. And I am literally, provably paying for ongoing child support. And that is incredibly difficult to cope with. It's really hard to cope with on a day-to-day basis. It's really hard to sleep at night. It's really hard to focus on, the normal things. It's really depressing. It's really a heavy weight. It's really hard. It's really hard to function. Really hard. I can't even express. And it's not the monetary loss alone, it's everything. It's the whole, how can this happen? How is this possible? How can people be so easily manipulated and lied to? How can people perpetrate this level of evil against children, against me, both? How can people be manipulated to do that so easily? How come people are so stupid? How come people are so stupid? The evidence is overwhelming and it's blatant. It's blatant. I have stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks of it. It was accessible. It was more accessible to people in charge than it was to me. More accessible. And the latest is these things that are no longer paychecks. They're now jokes. I mean, that's the latest on my direct end. There's other latest too. But there's nothing I can do about the other latest, right? There's nothing I can do about it. And it's a lot of cognitive dissonance in that, because it's like, well, what if he was essaying and pedoing and even graping my youngest minor? And then, well, what if he did it for several years and I was forced to pay for it? But now, what if, I don't know, like, what if my child, has refused to cooperate? What if he stopped? So he graped him and did all these things for a good period of time, a long period of time, but maybe he stopped. And maybe the state and everybody would then think, well, it's okay because he stopped. He's not doing it anymore, so it's fine. Because that's like how they saw the other things that he was doing. That were not cured. It's just, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to stop this video now. I can't be running this heat in the battery room at this level. I basically have to turn it way down and just hope and pray that the propane lasts for the battery room. And just hope and pray I get the joke soon. Hope and pray I get the joke soon. And hope and pray the joke is enough for propane and a little bit of food and little things like that. Just hope and pray. Hope and pray. That's all. Because I don't know what it's going to be, and I don't know. I don't know how much the joke is going to be, and I don't know even when I'm going to get it. Because my employer system and my checking account system, literally, it's like all over the place. It's out of whack. Because those two systems have no idea either. They don't know what to expect. My employer system is going, well, are we paying her the joke of $5? Are we paying her the joke of $500, for basically 2-3 weeks plus overtime? Is it going to be $500? Is it going to be $800? And then my checking account that normally lets me have my pay, when it was paychecks, they let me have it early, every time. They're over there. Their system is going, well, we don't know what it's going to be. We don't know what it's going to be. It could be any sum. Can't post it early anymore because it could be any sum. Literally, it could come at any time. There's no regular schedule. It's just kind of a roundish this week or week and a half. It's a roundish this time. And we have no idea what it's going to be because it's all different amounts, and it just keeps getting lower and lower and lower and lower because they just keep taking more and more and more because a court order isn't worth the paper it's written on. And I think I'm going to end up dead. I think I'm going to die. I think I'm going to die because I'm getting physically sicker and sicker, and I can't afford to take care of myself anymore at all, like at all. Like I put all of my money into stupidly trusting this lawyer and paying her and doing everything she said, and being stupid and paying for a previous one and doing everything he said, which was the same things. And then there wasn't a hearing with ever went to court with the first one. And with the second one, she lost on purpose and then went on vacation and blew off when she was supposed to appeal. And then it just has been going downhill. And so I wasn't properly prepared to weather years without being able to buy food, without being able to buy propane, without being able to buy gasoline to drive the vehicle. I mean, normally I put $20 to $30 of gasoline in the vehicle, and that's all I have for until, from the first joke to the second joke. It's just like it's $20 to $30 for fuel every 2 weeks. That's what I have. I don't get any more fuel. I set up a lot of things to weather this, but I didn't set up enough. And I don't really know how I could have, because I would have had to set up just like a lot of storage of rice. Can't eat beans because of all the GI problems. Rice, a lot of rice, maybe applesauce, canned applesauce.